Hello everyone, my name is Shivam Prasad. I've been teaching chess to beginners for over half a year now. Today I'll be doing a series on how to play chess from absolute scratch. Let's get started. So this is our chessboard along with chessmen. The white color squares, they are called light squares, and these are called the dark square. It doesn't necessarily have to be black and white. Make sure that while arranging chessboard, the bottom right hand side square must be a light square. And this is also true for black. Okay, now let's see how to arrange the pieces. On the cornermost squares you will have the two rooks, then beside the rooks you will have the knights, and then beside the knights you will have the bishops. And to remember the queen, firstly you make sure that the right hand bottom is a light square, then the black queen will be on a dark square, and the white queen will be on a light square. So that's how you arrange the pieces. Now let's get started with how the pieces move. This is the king. Now the movement of king is very simple. It moves in all direction one step. So it can go up one step, down one step, right one step, left one step, and also diagonally. So it can go to 8 squares from here. If placed here, then it can go here, here, here. Pieces cannot leave the board. So if there was a pawn here and a knight here, so I can just go here, 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 capture and capture. So that's how the king moves. And now there's a special move that a king can do if it hasn't moved before in the game. If the king hasn't moved before in the game, then what you can do is you can play the king 2 squares and the rook will come on the opposite side. This can also be done with the other rook. This is called short castling, and this side it's called long castling. So what are the two rules? That the king must not have moved. It must not be in any kind of check. For example, if the bishop is attacking at this point, it cannot castle. This move is called castling. And if any of the squares where the king will cross is guarded, then the king cannot castle. So here in this position, it cannot castle this side. It can castle this side. But if a piece was guarding this square, then it could not castle that side too. And if bishop is attacking this square, here the king is not going at this square at any point, so you can castle in this point. Only the rook is crossing, that doesn't matter. Okay, now the movement of queen. If you have understood the movement of the king, the movement of queen is only an extension. It can go in all directions like the king, but it is not limited to one square. You can move as many squares as you like in these directions. Now, in a plus kind of pattern and in a cross kind of pattern. This is how the queen moves. So if I had a piece here and a piece here, I can go here, capture here, come here, capture here. So next we have the rook. It has the simplest of all movements. It can go in a plus pattern. You can go top, bottom, right, left, as many squares you like. So that's how the rook moves. And now the bishop. In the start of the game, there will be two bishops. One will be on a light square and one will be a dark square. They will always stay on the color of the square that they were initially on, because a light square bishop cannot travel to a dark square because they move diagonally. How they move? In a cross pattern. See, this light square bishop is not crossing any dark squares. It is moving along the light squares. And this bishop is also not crossing any light squares. It is only moving along the dark squares. So this is the dark squared bishop and that is the light squared bishop. And now the knight. Now see how the knight moves. You have to go 2 steps straight. Let me just do it for all sides. And then you cannot stop. You have to complete the move. So 2 steps and a half step. So 2 steps and you have to go either right or left. So the knight can go here or here. So these are the 8 squares the knight can go from here. You have to go 2 steps straight. We can do that in all 4 directions, and then you have to go either right or either left. And you cannot place it somewhere in between. Like you cannot place it here. That is wrong. Or you cannot leave it here. You cannot leave it here. You have to complete the move. So say a knight is here. So it can go 1, 2, and here. Where else? It cannot go on the right side because that is outside of the board. And another is here. So it has only 2 moves from here. And now we have the pawn. The pawn can move only 1 step. It can go only 1 step. At 1 turn, it can go 1 step. And this line. This is the home square of the pawn. For the white pawn, this is the 2nd rank. And for the black pawn, it will be the 7th rank. The black pawns will be here. From here, for once, it can go 2 moves also. If there is a black pawn here, it can go 2 squares also from here. But once it has moved, say it has moved here. Now next time it cannot go 2 squares. So that's how the pawn moves. And now, for all the pieces, capture and moving is the same. For example, if there is a knight here, it moves like this. And it will also capture like this. But for the pawn, you see, say white plays here, black plays here. Now white cannot capture here. That will be illegal move. White cannot capture here. This is not a legal move. So what happens in this position? The pawn gets stuck. Unless some piece comes here, then only pawn will be able to capture here. And now capturing, let's see how the pawn captures. The pawn captures in a V pattern, like this. It can capture only 1 square diagonally. So that's how the pawn captures. If there is no piece here, like here there is no piece here, so I cannot place the pawn here. The pawn cannot go here. It can only go straight. While capturing, it can go like this. If there is a piece here, it can capture here, or if there is a piece here, it can capture here. So here comes, and now the both pawns are stuck. They cannot do anything unless some piece, something comes to capture here, then this black pawn can move. Otherwise, no. Now let's see how the pawn promotes. So the pawn, when it reaches the end of the board of the opponent side, that is, this is the last line of the opponent. So when the pawn reaches at the end of the board, then it must convert into another piece other than the king. There are 2 chessmen, pieces and pawns. So the pawn has to convert to some piece other than the king. So let's start. So here you have the option to convert it into these 4 pieces. Among this, the queen is the most powerful, so I'll choose the queen. And that is how you convert, that is how you promote pawns. And now there's a special pawn move called in passent. Now let's see how that goes. So when your opponent plays their pawn 2 steps, you can capture it as if it had moved 1 step. So had the pawn moved 1 step, it would come here. Then you would be able to capture it simply. But it has moved 2 steps. Still, there is a move called in passent, which allows you to capture it this way. So this move 2 steps and you capture it that way. And this is legal for only one move. Let me come to that. Say, here black has the option to capture here. See, it has the option to capture here. But if black plays something else and on the next move it does not have the option to capture it again, because in passent is a fresh move. You must in passent on the turn when you can do it. On the next turn you will not get the chance to in passent. It is a choice. You are not forced to in passent. If you want, you can in passent when your opponent freshly plays their pawn 2 steps. How that happens? We'll capture it as if the pawn had moved 1 step only. So say he plays here, we just capture here. If we want that no, our pawn has advanced much, so we want to keep it there, so we'll just keep it there. We don't need to in passent. And now let's practice the movement of the pieces. Let's start with the king. So our target is to capture this pawn here. So how can we go there? Here, 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 here. We cannot come here because that is defended by the pawn. So let's directly do this. So now we promote our pawn. That is how we continue the game. And now here, knight on the corner can go to only 2 squares. And see, our queen, with this queen we can trap the knight. So knight goes there and we capture it. That's how we do it. And now the movement of the rook. So this knight is also blocked by its both pawns. So we can just go here. And now we can capture this knight. And now see, these 3 pawns are on the same line. So let's use our bishop. We cannot attack from this side because these pawns defend each other. So we have to attack from the back because pawns cannot go backward. So let's go here. If this pawn moves, then we'll push this bishop here and that will attack these 2 pawns simultaneously. So opponent defended that pawn. Now whichever pawn he saves will capture the other one, and that's how we do it. And now this rook here is trapped. So we want to attack that rook using our knight. So how can we get there? Always think in reverse. To reach this square, we must get to here from the knight or here. Our knight must get here or here. This square is defended by a pawn, so we'll target this square. How can we reach that square? From here, from here, from here. So our knight can go here, right? So we'll play here. And now we go here. And then we'll capture this. And now finally captures with pawns. So we can capture here like this. And now we cannot play this when there is no piece there. We cannot do that, but we can play this. Why are we playing this? To clear our way for promotion. So we go there and then we can just promote. And that is how we can do it. So that's it for today. I hope you have learned how the pieces move. This series will continue and you will learn more things in this series. Stay tuned.